Hi Teela Jammers, how are you doing? So I hope the summer is treating you well. I hope the holidays are glistening for you and you're doing everything you can to relax before, school and work and whatever's going on for you. Today we're talking about a lovely subject that I actually thought of because I just felt like values are just an amazing concept. So today we're talking about investing in our values. And I think we actually talked about what we talked about. So I'm just looking to see. Yeah, we talked about, being aware of your brand and, just being careful of who you're surrounding yourself with. What do you invest yourself in doing? And now that kind of encompasses values. And, we looked at Max Scherler and his hierarchy of values and how he talks about, pleasure being one of the least valuable things that we could, not attain, but require in life, and holiness and adoration being one of the highest. So having, value in the self, and knowing, you've got a high purpose. So adoring, the God in you. Now, what I want to talk about in specifically is about objectives. Like, what do you see as being your objectives, and also, are they subjective? Now, a couple of years ago, I actually had a mentor, and big shout out to the Lighthouse Group, based in London. The guy that actually owns the Lighthouse is actually South African. I'm not going to name names or anything. I've actually forgotten his name. But basically, my mentor went through this with me. So again, I'm taking accountability here. I'm reviewing things I've learned and relearning and readdressing, things that I need to, stick forward with and keep going with. So bear with me because, it's about remembering and reminding myself. But yeah, so when we talk about investing in our values, what we're really saying is, how am I investing in my worth? If you think about values, the concept of values, the definition of values, it's something intrinsic in us that we consider we're passionate about developing, or even just how we see ourselves in terms of our character, what drives us, what's our passion, how we communicate with the world. And I'm not talking about how I'm communicating with you, which is through words and in an audio imagery form. I'm talking about confidently, starting yourself in a workplace environment, or how do you commit to your relationships? How do you communicate how you're feeling in therapy? How do you show up, basically, is what I'm getting at in life. So when we take time to actually invest, it doesn't actually mean, putting money where your mouth is. It's basically saying, okay, what is this going to cost me? And I'm going back into that video again where when you look at your values, you're asking yourself, what is this going to cost me? And it's not a life and death situation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, how much of yourself are you putting forward to this value? How much is it really going to cost you? What are you willing to do? How are you willing to speak on it? Not just using your voice, but speaking in a way like speaking up for others. How are you going to be a comrade for other people where your values are concerned? So I'll give you an example. For me, where I invest in my values, in a specific value, is supporting people. Now, I actually had a conversation with a friend today, and we were actually saying, when it comes to supporting people, the majority of the time, I'm doing it from an intrinsic state of mind where I actually want to learn for myself. And that's not me being egotistical, that's me actually, taking time to review and shift my perspective, get more experience, become more confident. So we're going away from ego and we're going into, supporting our consciousness. So when, I was talking to this friend about supporting people, I was like, it's so funny how, I was actually talking about, the last job I was in. I was like, it's so funny how, like, I went into this job, I was so nervous about it. And, in the end, I felt like I was being helped. Being HIV positive, I was meeting, people from all aspects of life, gay people, lesbian people, trans, people that didn't have HIV, that were working in the industry, or the field, not industry. And I was learning so much through being a worker that supported service users, but I'm a service user myself. So it was so funny how it was kind of flipped on its head. Like, I felt like, oh, I'm out here, doing the work, but then I'm looking at my, my paperwork, and I'm sitting there thinking, that's so interesting. I want to learn more about this. This is actually exciting, and I was actually learning more about myself. So sometimes our values, where we feel like it's something that we're giving out externally, it actually helps us internally. And values, taking time to invest in your values should, that's where it should kind of head. It should not be about what you can gain, even in terms of accolades or achievements. Like we've talked about, it's not what you know, it's who. And it's about saying to yourself, how could, and I'm bridging on to the next part of this, is how could I make this subjective? Values are a way of helping us to internalize for ourselves, not internalize what other people are giving us, but internalize ourselves. And like I said before, communicate, show up, and just be our truest selves, no matter what, So when I talk about I can't say the word. When I talk about being subjective is different to objectives. Objectives are saying, okay, this is my aim. This is kind of where I want to go with, say, like you've got a project. And like, let's take, for example, investing in values is your project. Now, the objective would be to ensure I honestly commit to showing up through, seeking my values in an authentic way. Let's say that's it. Now, the subjective area would be, okay, what does it mean to show up intrinsically and authentically for me? So, yeah, it's about saying, okay, what are my specific values, and how do I make sure that they kind of imprint in everything that I'm doing? So, for example, one of my values is, like I've just said, is supporting people. How do I support people? I've got a YouTube channel. Now, someone else could say, they're in a job. Say, for example, they're a bus driver. They're taking people to their destinations, and that's how they support people. Oh, darling. Very, like, blasé example. But in terms of being subjective, it's all about how you show up, specifically you. So I'm just about to head on out, and little one's just woken up. But I really hope you've enjoyed, part of the discussion. I'd love to speak about this more, because it's actually a really, really important part of the healing journey, or even whatever journey you're on, like whether it's finding yourself, whether it's releasing any trauma or any baggage, investing in your values is key. So keep that in mind, as you've watched this or however you interpret what I've said. So I love you and leave you for now. Remember to choose what you love and love what you choose. Hey! See you later.